The Cartesian plane is a fancy name for what you get when you take two number lines and put them at a right angle. Okay, and Cartesian plane. What's you've done this before? A little bit at least. What's it useful for? What do you think? Huh? Coordinates. And what are coordinates useful for? Very good. You're right. We're going to use coordinates. Yeah. What were you going to say? Mapping. So like if you're thinking about locations on a map, and in fact, if you look at a map or an atlas, it's broken up into grids, and we often don't look at it that way, but it always is, right? What's the coordinate system they use for the planet? Does anybody know? Is anybody taking geography right now? Or last semester? What's the coordinate system we use for the planet? Oh, I know you know this. Yeah, longitude and latitude. And so it tells you how far you go one way and how far you go another way. And every single point. Now, the way that works is a little bit different from how this works. Just the way the numbers are. But it's the same principle. How far do you go sideways? How far do you go up, down? And you can pinpoint anywhere on the entire planet using that system. It's really useful. Navigators, pilots, boats use these kinds of coordinate systems all the time. And then they're also used for all kinds of other applications in the real world. So this is a simple take to a big idea. Okay, what we're just going to look at it sort of just the basics today, but and then it's also the start of graphing. And what is the point of graphing? So we're going to start doing some graphing over the next few weeks. What's the point of graphing? Is it's a visual representation of some kind of pattern. That's all that a graph is. And you'll see as we go a little bit more about exactly what that means. So we're going to just do some basic plotting points today, which will be useful. And then we're going to do a couple of interesting activities. But then later on, the points are going to mean something. We're even going to do a little bit of that today, and it'll help make another example of sort of where we're going with this and why we do it. Okay. When I say it's like two number lines, I mean like a number line where you have a 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And -1, -2, -3, -4. And so -3 is a point on that number line. This is -3. But if I get another number line that goes up, down, and they usually, meet right at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then I need two coordinates to tell me where to go. I might go -3, and I might go up to -3, 2, and that's different from 2, -3. Take a look at that. Same numbers, two very different points. So it's really important that we all are speaking the same language, and the order of the coordinates matters. So the first one is always your sideways movement, and the second one is always your up-down movement. And we remember that because this is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. And again, later on in the course, those will actually mean something. They'll stand for something, not just x and y. Like it'll stand for money or something like that. And it'll make a little bit more sense. And so so we do it alphabetically. The first one is x, the second one is y. So here's what we want to do to start. Get rid of that. Point A, and we use brackets. So write that down on your sheet, please. We go bracket, and we're going to put the x value, and then comma, and then the y value, and then close bracket. You have to put brackets around it. For today, later on, this isn't going to be something we're as picky at, but for now, this is exactly the way that we do it. Everybody okay? So when I look at A, it's broken up into how far to the side it went and how far up it went. And I follow it straight down to the x-axis, and I read off the number, and I follow it straight across to the y-axis, and I read off the number. So the x for this one is -5. That goes first. It's alphabetical, x then y. And the y is +6. And it's a unique point. -5, 6 is always this point. It's exactly that point. It'll always be that point. So if you're lost in the woods and you tell somebody, go to -5, 6, they'll find you. They won't go to the wrong place because it's a unique position. Does that make sense? Okay, what about B? Ooh, B's got a bit of a trick to it. How far over do I go for B? I go -2. Actually, I think it's -3. You can look carefully. Sometimes counting on the board is really hard, so you can count on your own sheet and try to count carefully. So 1, 2, 3. That's right, -3. And who can answer this? How far up, down did I go? 0. So it's 0. A 0 means you're on one of the axes, right? Those are called axes. And you use axes in all kinds of graphing and all kinds of other courses, I know. History course, you do some graphing probably here and there. They graph dates and changing things over time. Geography, you certainly do graphing. Science, you do graphing, so you've got your axes in science that you label. It's a big part of that. Okay, C, why don't you try this one? I would maybe use my pencil and just not draw a line, but just carefully follow the line across. So for C, hopefully you got 6 and 5, 6, 7, 8. Did you get 6, 8? Yeah. D. Who wants to share D? -9, -8. And I like that Noah got the order right because he did the left, right first. So it's -9 on the X. And it looks like -8 on the Y. Counting slightly wrong is very different from getting your axes backwards. Okay, so if you're off by 1 because you counted wrong, it's not the end of the world. It's not that big a deal. But, be careful because you do want to... I know everybody in here can count. But you really don't want to get the X's and Y's backwards. Keep going, E, F, G, and H. Some people just miss them once in a while. They miss one. E, F, G, and H. So for E, I go over 1, and then I go down 6. So over to the right one is +1, and down means negative. So 1, -6. Anybody else get that for E? F is over 6, down 5. G, what's interesting about G? It's right on the line, and this is one that some people mess up because it's on the line and we don't think about it. How far did I go over? From 0, Aaliyah, look, take a look. How far did I go this way or this way to get to G? Do you move sideways at all? No, you don't. You move up, down, but you don't move sideways. That means the sideways measurement is 0. That's the X. So G is over 0. Like, say this in your head. I went up 1, but I didn't go over. You know what I mean? It's funny how something so simple can sometimes be confusing. So 0, 1. And does anybody want to guess what H is? No? 0, 0. That's a special point. We call it the origin. And it's going to be special later on in this course when we start talking about things. Something interesting happens when you're at the origin. But for now, it's just a point like any other, but it's where everything kind of starts. That's what You know, the word origin is like the beginning of things. That's why it's called the origin. Everybody good? Okay, here's the tricky part. Is we're going to do this one together, but it's hard for you to check your answers if they're the same or if you're off by one. So I noticed that I like to do grids that are marked at the 5 because it's kind of easy to tell if I'm over 3 or over 2 from 5. And then we don't have to go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and write all the numbers. So 3, 6, I'm going to go over 3. I'm going to go up to 5 and up one more. That's how I'm going to find 6. And I'm going to label it A. Remember, it's always X, then Y. It's always alphabetical, so get in the habit of going sideways first. B is -2, so I'm going to go left 2 and then up 3. C is 7, -1, so I go over to 5, over 2 more, and down 1. So this is even good for like our mental math, because we're always adding a little bit or subtracting a little bit from 5. -5, -2 is D. So E is 0, 4. What does that tell me? It tells me I'm not going sideways. And I go up 4. Woo. So I'm on this line. And F is I'm going left 2 and I'm not going up, down. There's a 0 for the Y coordinate. That's the up, down. So I'm not going up, down. And 0, 0 is G. Done. Any questions? That's a very quick lesson. So here's what I want you to do now. Eyes up, put your pencil down. This is a good one to do. This is the other handout that you have. List the following points, determine the coordinates, and write them down because we can take that up, and I'm going to post that. It's the second part that's a little bit hard, so I would encourage you to do that. But we have another activity. This is what the Chromebooks are for. When you go to the classroom, not logged in. Oh, there it is. When you go to the classroom, you're going to notice that there's a post, and you're going to click on that on your Chromebook or your phone if you don't have a Chromebook here. And here's what you're going to do. Okay, I'm going to encourage you to click New, and then you got to click this button, Plot Points, and then you're going to plot all these points. So -5 and 3, I just go there and I click and I get a point. And if it's wrong, I can drag it around and I can move it. Okay? And I'm going to plot all the points. I'm going to go over 8 and up 8. I'm going to get one of these wrong on purpose. Over 10 and down 7. What if I got that one wrong? Because I went up 10 and over 7. So maybe I get that one wrong too. And then when I'm done all of them, I'm going to click Check Your Work. And see how this one has a red dot behind it? You can kind of see it if you look carefully. I don't know if you can see it from here, but... And these ones don't. That means I did these ones wrong. And the other ones I didn't do. So that's how you know if your work is right or wrong. So I want you to try that, and then if you do it once, you could click New and do it again. Do it a couple of times. Maybe it won't take you very long. And once you've kind of done it and got all 8 of them right a couple of times, then you can be done that. You can do this worksheet, and there is another question. What's going on here? At the bottom, which I would like you to do, and we'll take this one up and talk about this one later. And then I also have another whole sheet of practice that is like connecting a whole bunch of points that kind of makes an interesting picture. So that will be part of our practice for tonight as well, part of the homework that we'll collect. So I'll come around and hand this out. So you got a whole bunch of things to do, and we're going to take some of them up as we go. And then the thing online has a self-check. So that one's really good to do as well.